What's up, players and playettes? It's your boy Hoom Boom back with another segment of the Hold Up Show. And hold up, let the guns talk. Today we're going to be reviewing a clip of President Donald Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi as they discuss gun violence restraining order. Let's get into it. Hold up.
We've been rewriting it, and we are going to bring in something called the Gun Violence Restraining Order. So if someone is civilly committed typically you can hold them for up to 72 hours, but people are getting out within 24 hours, the majority of them. So what we want to do is let law enforcement come in and take the guns.
Good.
They're a danger to themselves
Which you can't
or
do right
others.
now.
Well, because without being adjudicated. So because they're a danger to themselves.
You want them to take the guns and
when they are
not go
committed.
through 6 months of legal trials and everything else,
Exactly,
which is-
but we
okay.
also have to give the
Good.
mentally ill the due process in which they deserve, President. So what we're doing is they're going to be able to take the guns when they're taken into custody or into the hospital, and then when they're released, within 24 hours or 72 hours later, typically it's 24 hours, but law enforcement will have 72 hours to determine whether they should give those guns back, or they can go to a judge and say, Your Honor, please keep these guns. We feel this person is still a danger to himself or others, whether
So
they're
this
in or
would
out
not
of
have
custody.
worked the way it's currently constituted. This would not have worked with Cruz as it's currently constituted.
As it's currently written.
So you're going to make changes?
We're going to make changes.
So there you have it. Attorney General Pam Bondi and President Donald Trump discussing gun violence restraining order, right? And it seems like that conversation or this clip was aimed towards mentally ill individuals that have an event or episode dealing with gun violence, right? So that's all a little unclear to me, right? So I wanted to get a definition of or a released explanation of exactly what the gun violence restraining order is. And this is what I was able to find. A gun violence restraining order is a legal procedure that allows courts to remove guns from those who are proven likely to use them dangerously while complying with the Second Amendment and due process protections of the Constitution. Okay. So before I go any further, right? This says a legal procedure that allows courts to remove guns from those who are proven likely to use them dangerously. Who is going to prove that they are likely going to use a gun dangerously? Who's going to make that decision, right? If this person is not already documented or diagnosed as mentally ill and having a history of violence and or violence with guns, who is going to prove them likely to be dangerous, right? So that's a little unclear to me. Let's go on. The gun violence restraining order can be granted by a judge to prevent a person who poses a significant risk of harming themselves or others from purchasing a gun, ammunition, or a magazine for a specified length of time, between 21 days and 5 years. Once an order is granted, the police can be called to enforce the order, and the restrained person will have to turn in any firearms or ammunition they have. So again, that makes it even more murky to me, right? Because in the clip, it seems as though they were referring to mentally ill people, right? So if you're referring to mentally ill people, this definition and this explanation from the American Bar Association does not call out anyone mentally ill, right? This says granted by a judge to prevent a person who poses a significant risk of harming themselves or others, right? It doesn't say mentally ill person. It doesn't say diagnosed mentally ill person. It doesn't say person who has history or something to that nature, right? So that makes it a little murky to me, right? It goes back to the who proves that this person is a significant threat of harming themselves or others with or without a gun, right? Who's making that decision to be able to enforce the gun violence restraining order, right? So then on top of that, I see that it says it's only stopping, the judge is only preventing the person from purchasing a gun, ammunition, a magazine for a specified length of time between 21 days and 5 years, right? Make that make sense, right? So let's just say whoever proves a certain individual, or however they went about it, right? That they proved a certain individual may or is a harm to themselves or others, right? Now, the cops get to hold that gun for 72 hours, right? According to her clip, the cops will be able to hold this gun for 72 hours after your release, right? So are the cops the ones who make the decision that you are a threat to society or a threat to yourself, right? So then during that 72 hours, the cops make the decision whether they want to go to a judge and say, hey, judge, don't give said woman or man back their guns because they are a threat to themselves or others if they have this firearm or firearms, right? And then the judge goes and says, well, I agree with you, right? I'm going to put the restraining order on him. And he puts the restraining order on him. What is going to make a judge determine that a person who poses significant risk of harming themselves and others only needs to part with their guns for 21 days? That's the minimum. 3 weeks, 21 days, right? Who's to say after those 3 weeks, or whatever the specified length of time is, I'm pretty sure there's still that person going through that condition, dealing with it however they can, and could wake up one day after those 3 weeks and still be a significant risk of harming themselves or others. Right? So let's just say they give them the max. 5 years, the judge says you can't be with your guns or whatever, right? What if something happens to that person at their place of residence or wherever they at, and they're unable to protect themselves and they are the victim of gun violence themselves? Is that judge or police that deem that this person was a risk, are they liable because this person didn't have their personal firearms in their possession to protect themselves because a cop deemed them proven likely to be dangerous or to use them dangerously, but doesn't have a history of it? Just the police just deemed you a significant risk? It's very murky legally. It's very murky legally. It's very murky with the rights of all individuals, because there's another side of that, right? Since this wording does not say anything about a mentally ill person, can the police, because if it's the police that are holding the guns for 72 hours and it's the police that approach the judge requesting this restraining order, they are the ones that have to prove that you are the significant risk, right? And a judge is going to take the law enforcement department's recommendation when dealing with a matter like this. So that also poses a threat of abuse of power, right? Because now the police can just go label someone that they don't like in the community for whatever reason as a proven likely person to use a firearm dangerously, or they're a significant risk of harming themselves or others because they own a gun, right? Because when you own a gun, most likely you have to notify the police station that you have a legal firearm, right? If you're a legally law-abiding gun owner, right? You have to go to the police station, say, I got these guns. They mine. They for me, protecting me and my house and anyone who poses a threat to that, right? So the police already know who has the gun. So what if they decide that they want to label someone a significant risk and want to go to the judge to get their guns taken away for whatever reason under the guise of preventing gun violence? It's very murky, because there will have to be some hand holding and oversight of police going to judges trying to prove someone is a significant risk, judges approving whatever restraining order, whatever gun violence restraining order, someone reviewing the length of time that the judge enforced between the 21 days and 5 years. So it's just all very murky, and it all can get lost in the process, sort of say, right? So then I found this article from Unilad.com, right? And this is what could happen if Donald Trump decides to lift an almost 100-year-old law which has left people in total shock. Attorney General Pam Bondi was recently ordered to review all gun laws in the United States. President Donald Trump is wanting to make changes to a decades-old gun law that dates back to the Prohibition era. In 1935, the U.S. National Firearms Act, NFA, was brought in, which saw the sale and use of gun suppressors, sometimes referred to as silencers, restricted. As per the American Suppressor Association, the law states that you must be 21 years old or over to buy a suppressor from a dealer, be at least 18 to buy one from an individual, be legally eligible to own a firearm, and pay a one-time $200 transfer tax fee. In addition to this, a person must reside in one of the 42 states that allow suppressors. As it stands, the likes of California, Illinois, Hawaii, and New York have blanket bans on this firearm device. But Trump wants to change all this, despite the fact that he nearly lost his life to gun violence in July 2024 when gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks fired at him during a Pennsylvania rally. Earlier this month, Trump signed an executive order calling on newly appointed Attorney General Pam Bondi to review America's gun policies. The order signed February 7 stated, "Today, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order to end the federal government's violation of America's fundamental Second Amendment right to protect themselves, their families, and their freedoms." It's believed that Trump wants to end the ban on silencers completely, something that firearm owners in the U.S. have long called for. It largely comes down to the fact that the suppressors protect the gun holder's hearing. The ASA website says suppressors are also known as silencers and are the hearing protection of the 21st century sportsman. Despite common misconceptions, suppressors are not silent. They are simply mufflers for firearms which function by trapping the expanding gases at the muzzle and allowing them to slowly cool. Knox Williams, president and executive director of the ASA, has applauded Trump's proposed plans. "On behalf of millions of law-abiding gun owners, we would like to thank President Trump for his fearless leadership to protect our Second Amendment rights," he said in a statement. As well as protecting the person's hearing, gun activists say the silencers restrict noise complaints and reduces recoil, thus improving gunshot accuracy. Regarding accuracy, the likes ASA argued that it makes hunting more humane as it enables a hunter to help with better shot placement. During his first term in 2020, he previously lifted a 20-year ban on sales of suppressors to foreign buyers, arguing it was to grant U.S. companies the same opportunity to compete in the international marketplace, The Independent reported. Should the Trump suggested changes come into fruition, it'll make it a lot easier for firearm owners to purchase a silencer. To buy one, someone would simply have to show their identification and fill in a background check form, Mail Online reports. The background checks take just a few minutes in comparison to the current BATFE background check, where people have to go through, which can take anywhere between 1 to 100 days, says Silencer Shop. So yeah. So it seems that Trump is on the side of protecting our Second Amendment constitutional rights to bear arms, protect our home, protect our families, and all that good stuff, right? And while he ordered and is in the process of having these gun laws reviewed or gun policies reviewed and rewritten and updated, it seems that there is still a lot to sort out as far as the wording and basically who has the power to classify certain things and who would be in charge of overseeing these gun exchanges or these gun violence restraining orders or just these new changes to the policies regarding guns overall, right? Because I've never seen a problem with silencers or gun accessories and things like that, right? You are allowed to protect your home however you deem fit, right? It just is what it is, right? But to have a silencer, like if you were to purchase a silencer, do I now have to notify the police that I have these accessories for these guns that I already notified you about that I own in my home? And by me having to notify you of these accessories like a suppressor, will that then make me a target by you, the police or law enforcement, to be able to deem me as proven likely to be dangerous with a firearm because I have this accessory? So it's just a lot of things that it's just a lot of angles and perspectives and things to discuss with this, because we don't want certain lower level agencies and law enforcement departments with so much power to take away someone's right to protect themselves. So I want to know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Let your boy Hoon Boom know. Do you agree with the direction that the gun policies and things are going under this second term of Donald Trump? I want your thoughts. It's your boy Hoon Boom. This is another segment of the Hold Up Show, and I'm out. Peace.